Myrla, 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 honey. Other than buying designer bags and clothes and shoes, what makes you happy, girl? Oh my God. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, it is Tasha. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's jump into the video. Let's go. We are season 13, episode 5, The Keys to My Heart. So they say. Okay, let's jump into the episode, y'all. So all the couples are waking up first full day of the honeymoon. They're officially on day 3 of marriage. Jose says, oh, he's waking up to his beautiful wife. He's just such a happily married man. And I'm like, it's been 72 hours, sir. Relax. Relax. Rachel says, we've discovered so many things that we have in common, but it's really important for us to discuss the differences. And Jose says, yeah, like I realize that, you like your coffee black and I like creamer in my coffee. And I am like Rachel of, it's not really the differences I was talking about, but I guess we can start there if you want to be, real minute about the situation, Jose. I guess we can start talking about differences in coffee. Come on with some substance, sir. Okay. Jose, okay, so we know where he is. Rachel then says, so I just kind of want to talk about, you asking to brush my teeth the other day and, kind of feeding me. And they flash back to a couple of times where he has been feeding her. And she's like, I'm not a toddler. You're not my parent. I think I'm being okay. And I'm like, she's gone all this time in her life, sir, feeding herself and brushing her own teeth. I don't think she needs her help. Because Jose's defense is, I just want to be her protector. As her husband, I just want to be her protector. And I'm like, are you protecting her from her toothbrush and forks and spoons? Like, what are you protecting her from by wanting to brush her teeth and feed her, sir? Giving me real controlling vibes, Jose. You giving me real controlling vibes here. He is starting to annoy the hell out of me. And at this point, I don't like him. I don't like him. But Rachel goes on and says that she values her independence. She really wants to understand her role in this marriage because Jose, continues to just harp on being the protector, being the provider, and all of this stuff. Her dad always told her, listen, have your career established, have your own money, because if somebody up and leaves you one day, you will always still have something that you can fall back on. And I'm like, yes, daddy told her the right thing. Absolutely agree. Don't depend on a man 100% for anything. Not saying you can't be no stay-at-home mom and he be the provider, but you always have something in your back pocket, sis. Abandonment can happen, divorce can happen, death can happen. Always have something that you can fall back on. Okay. But I think this is going to be an adjustment for her because she will then have to relax a little bit to let him take on that role if she, sees fit that she needs to stay with him. And it's going to be an adjustment for him to realize he just does not have a wife that he was able to pick up and drop into his little life that is just going to agree and, say, whatever you like, whatever you like. What movie is that from? But he's not going to have a wife that is just submitting to him in whatever he had in his head of what the perfect wife shall do and who she is. Like, sir. Yeah. All right. So Bao and Johnny, they wake up next to each other. And then Johnny starts in on this story about how, he woke up because he thought there was some animals or something in the room because it was just a lot of rumbling and noise. And it was Bao snoring. She took it in stride. Johnny did too. We'll revisit this later on in the episode. But he says that, her snoring does bother him because he's a bit of a light sleeper. And I'm like, well, Johnny, get your headphones, get you some earplugs and deal with it. But she did give you the space and opportunity to sleep in the other room. You didn't want to. So, sir, deal with this little snuggy bear that's snoring next to you. OK, you can't have it both ways. Figure it out. But we learned that Bao is a bathing suit collector. She has a ton of bathing suits, but only about 90% of them ever see the light of day. And she kind of compares it to lingerie and bathing suits. And I was like, No bow, but okay, if that's what you want to say. But I just love them. They're so cute together. They each have their own little insecurities, but it seems that what they think is insecure, like him kind of being just lean and long and not really muscular, she's like, oh no, I love that physique. And I'm like, go ahead, girl. Love your little 98-pound man. Go ahead on bow. So Gil and Myrla, they are eating breakfast. And of course, it's complain o'clock. And Myrla has to get the day started. She complains that there's no protein. She complains about the milk for the coffee because she cannot tell what type of milk it is, and then asks Gil to drink it. And Gil is like, I don't know, milk is milk. And she's like, well, it's not almond milk, so I got to call downstairs and tell them to give me my almond milk. She complains that the croissant is just way too large. And I'm just like, oh God, I know we all have our preferences, especially when you're on vacation. Sometimes you just got to deal with what you got and use what you got and not make a big deal out of it, Myrla. Like, cut it out, girl. But Gil says he's taking notes of the things that his wife likes and doesn't like, and the list of what she does not like is growing rather long at this point. But she's still complaining about the accommodations, and I don't know what kind of patience Gil has, but he continues to be very patient with her. He continues to look at the glass half full while she looks at it as half empty all the time. Like, he continues to be optimistic when she just continues to browbeat everything. And I'm stunned because it couldn't be me. Could not be me. He asks her on a scale of 1 to 10 of how happy she is. She says, she's about an 8, but she doesn't need, a bunch of glitz and glamour. And I'm like, Myrla, girl, self-reflection, girl. Just get a little bit. Then they have a discussion because she's like, oh, Gil, I know you're going to say you're a 10 because, you just don't complain about anything and, everything is just going fine. And I'm just like, no, but he just does not find fault in every single thing like you do, Myrla. Like, oh my gosh, I get it. We like what we like and we want things how we want things, but her conceding, oh my God, it's like World War III up in this joint. Like, Myrla, take a chill pill, girl. Roll with the punches and just relax. It is just, oh my gosh, she is just so whiny. She admits that she's whiny, but yet she does not see the need to do something about that. Girl, get it together. This is not the Bahamas. We are in a whole panorama outside. I'm going to need you to deal with the accommodations that are here. And if you are if you despise them that much, go find you another 5-star resort and you pay your own money, because I'm sick of hearing about it. So Ryan and Brent talk over breakfast, and it still just seems a little bit awkward for him. Like, she looks comfortable, but he just seems so uptight, and he just has a dry sense of humor. Like, to me, he says things that could, produce a little chuckle, but the way he says them, it's like, yeah, like that. Like, you want me to laugh, but you're not laughing or chuckling. I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this moment, sir. But they go down to the pool. They meet with Jose and Rachel. Gil comes minus Myrla because he says that she's working. And then they discuss how things are going so far. Gil brings up, all the requirements he had, and, Jose talks about, no. So Gil talks about all the requirements that Jose has. So remember when the guys all got together and Jose had all these questions and all these things that he wanted, his wife to be, and, basically saying that, Rachel kind of fits the bill. And he was like, wow, because he had a whole lot. They basically talk about, just taking things slow and just kind of going at their own pace for both Jose and Rachel and Britt and Ryan. And then later on, Bao and Johnny comes and join them, and they're wondering where Zach and Michaela is. And we are all wondering the same thing. Where is Zach and Michaela? Because we ain't seen them since Zach wasn't feeling well the last time and we was waiting on his COVID test. And then we see Michaela, she checks in by herself. We see that Zach says he still is not feeling well. He has fever, chills. He's really tired. And I'm like, it ain't looking good. I think you got the vid. Okay. I think that's where we are all heading at this point. But at this point of the show, we don't know what his results are. So the remaining couples down at the pool continue to talk about their first kisses. And of course, everyone shares that they did kiss except for Gil and Myrla. Ryan says that, Jose and Rachel, he's like, they are very affectionate. Good for them. Y'all, I about died when he looked real dry in the face and he said that, because I couldn't tell if he was being shady because Brett was standing there and he was like, can you take a hint from them that we want to do a little bit more, or if he was just being, just really like good for them. I couldn't tell because, again, he's so dry in the face most of the time. Rachel and Jose continue to make out in front of everyone. I'm completely over the two of them. And then Gil talks about them only kissing on the cheeks so far. And all the girls are like, yep, she told us that. When it was time to kiss, she's like, don't kiss strangers. We will be kissing on the cheek. We ain't doing all that, okay? Then Gil goes on and he talks about his wife being very particular. And in this instance, he basically says, she gets kind of whiny when she gets hungry and she complains, and I kind of treat her like a toddler. I feed her and then eventually she'll wear herself out. And I was like, Gil, if Myrla was down here and she heard him, she would probably fly herself right on back to Houston right at that very second, because she would be so pissed at him for doing that. I was like, Gil, you were spot on, but not in front of everybody else while your wife is not present to say that you just treat her like a toddler, that she'll wear herself out eventually. Boy, it was so funny though. So funny. Gil then starts being nosy once again. He's asking about intimacy with the other couples, and everyone agrees, when it's time. When it happen, it'll happen, blah, blah, blah. Bao and Johnny finally let the rest of the group know that they knew each other before getting married, and we have to go through the whole ghosting story again. And Johnny said, if Bao would have told me that she liked me years ago, then maybe we could have taken things further at that time, and we would not now be, meeting as strangers at the altar. And I'm like, again, you ghosted her. So they all get in the pool. Johnny says that he has to focus on what Bao is saying, because Bao has a great body and she has a great ass. He's like, oh my God, her ass is perfect. And I said, Lord, if Johnny saw a real ass, bow, like not bow, but bow, ass, he would not know how to act. He would not be able to control himself, okay? Because I'm like, that's so sweet that you love your wife, but we know Bao don't have no ass. Cut it out, Johnny. Then we go back to Zach and Michaela, and we find out that he has indeed tested positive for COVID, but she is negative, which, of course, it's horrible just because of the situation. I mean, they don't know each other, and now they have to be separate in a situation where they were supposed to be spending all this time together and really getting to know each other, to now where it's like, okay, we have to now be completely separate from each other, and we can't even continue on the vibe that they had before. So really, really sucks for them. I was like, oh, I hate this for y'all. But a little bit, Michaela irritated me because the way she was kind of going at it, she almost made it as if it was Zach's fault that he had COVID. I'm like, girl, nobody wants to get COVID. It's not his fault. But I also understand, again, her mindset of she probably had all these expectations of what was going to happen on her honeymoon, and just that quickly, everything came crashing down. So really, her emotions just being all over the place. I totally get it. But it's all right. Do better next time, Michaela, though. Then we see Rachel and Jose go fishing. Again, this is something that Jose likes to do. And I know I'm starting to be judgy, but every time I see a scene with the two of them, something just don't sit right with me about Jose. I cannot pinpoint 100% what it is yet. I know a piece of it is I do feel like he's controlling, because he feels like he has to have his hands in everything. I mean, even when she was, doing the fish and she threw a line out and she actually did catch a fish, he took the rod from her and started reeling the fish in. Like, he just feels like he has to be in control. And again, because he's so short, I'm like, is it just the little man syndrome that's taking over so much that you just feel like you have to overcompensate for everything because you look like you're about 5'5"? Is that the case? Because I'm tired of it, Jose. It is already. I'm tired of it. You're trying too hard. So Gil and Myrla, they head out for their first dinner, and both of them now, when they was walking and they showed that scene with, his glasses, he in his suit, she in her dress, I was like, y'all look hella good. Y'all look good. This could be a whole photo shoot magazine cover. Y'all look good. But he brings Myrla up to speed on how the pool day went with the other couples, of course, omitting what he said about treating her like a toddler. But she had to talk about the whole no kissing thing again. And, I just don't kiss strangers. That's not who I am. Blah, blah, blah. Get over yourself, Myrla. It is a kiss. He is not asking to tongue you down or to have sex with you right then and there at that table. It is a kiss. Cut it out. She says that she's been in 4 serious relationships, and Gil asks what she's learned in those relationships. She says that she loves quality time, and I'm like, ooh, I can't tell that you love quality time because you picked to work instead of hanging out at the pool with your husband and the rest of the couples earlier that same day. But if you say so, okay, girl. She says that she's very solidified in what she wants. She wants someone to do things with her, and she wants someone that is reliable. She says that she is a touchy person, and I'm like, okay. But she says, of course not on day one. It comes with time. It comes with time. So I'm like, okay, even now, I just can't see you being touchy. Like you, I don't even know if I've seen you like caress his bald head, try to reach out and hold his hand, rub his arm. To say you're so touchy, I haven't even seen a little bit. Bao has done more. When Bao is physical touch is low on the totem pole, she has done more than you have, Myrla, at this point. So you saying stuff, but your actions and your words really don't match up every episode that we see. He also asks how she feels love outside of quality time. And of course she says gifts, and she perks all the way up. And I'm like, I called this probably since the first episode of, while she can afford to do all these nice luxurious things for herself, she wants somebody that can spoil her and buy her these things and give her these things as gifts. And Gil ain't it, because he then asks her, so if you know, there's a between a Cartier bracelet that I want to give you or a quilt that I knitted that I want to give you. And she's like, a quilt? Am I 85? Check, please. I will be ready to exit the door, basically, if you're trying to give me a quilt. And I'm like, thank you for proving me right, Myrla. Thank you, because I called this from the beginning of, this is the kind of man that you want. While you can supply it for yourself, if I can supply it for myself, I want my man to supply me with it, or even better at this point. I knew that's what she was gonna, I knew that's what she was gonna want. And don't get me wrong, I am all for gifting people what they like. Like, I try to be a really good gift giver, and although I may look at things and be like, oh, this is nothing I would never buy and I don't like this, I know the person I'm buying it for will like it, so let me get this gift for them. I am totally that type of gift giver, and I get it. But also those sentimental gifts mean a lot as well, and I'm scared that she's just not able to separate the two, that it's just her gifts are about what I can show. Like, oh, my husband bought this for me. My husband bought this for me. My husband bought this for me. Look at this new bag my husband bought for me. But rather it's a little, you know, handmade card or something that else that he may have made that really goes deeper into the feelings or emotions. She would not appreciate those things because it's not something that she can show off to everybody else that she received as a gift. And I hate that, because I know he probably does not have the finances to supply the gifts that she wants, but I think that's a gut punch of, so basically sentimental gifts won't mean crap to her. But okay, anyway, they walk in their room after dinner, and he's like, ooh, I have a surprise for you. And she's like, is it a Cartier surprise or is it a knitted blanket surprise? And I'm like, stop it. Stop it. But he basically takes her out on the balcony. He has a little setup for them with some wine and macaroons, and she seems really appreciative. And I'm like, finally, this child smiles and acts like she is happy about something, because we have not seen this quite yet. And I still almost didn't feel like she was 100% happy. She was just like, oh, let me just act like this means a lot to me when I really still don't want this either. That's what it seemed like. But I can imagine this is going to get very exhausting for Gil very quickly, because it's just going to take so much effort to make her happy. Because that's kind of the foundation that she's setting, is that anything to make her happy is truly going to have to be above and beyond every single time. Where I get it, I like that kind of stuff too, but I also like that if you stop at the gas station and you picked up my favorite ice cream, I'm super happy about that as well. So Myrla girl, we need balance. But basically Gil is like, you just like this macaroon, you just like this is just like a fancy cookie, and that's kind of just like you. Gil be firing shots and she don't even be knowing it. But in this instance, she also says that she doesn't believe she's a high maintenance person. And I'm like, girl, You don't think you have... Okay, Myrla. She tells Gil that she thinks it's hard to find a man that wants the same things that she wants. So the marriage and the kids. She then asks if there basically has been no woman that has wanted Gil. You know, she's like, you're successful. Well, I assume you're successful. Like, you are successful. And Gil is like, I'm content. I was like, that's not what she wanted to hear, Gil. That is not what she wanted to hear. But they talk about their last relationship, and Gil says he hasn't been in what he considers a long-term relationship in about 6 years. And he said long-term for him is something that has went longer than 6 months. So I'm assuming that he's dated within that time frame. It just hasn't been anything that's gone beyond 6 months. So Jose and Rachel are hanging out, and Michaela FaceTimed her to let her know Zach was positive for COVID, and they share it would be best for her to go back home to Houston, and then Zach would continue to quarantine in Florida a little bit longer. And again, I'm like, this has to suck. So I'm not giving Michaela too much slack right now, because it's just like your whole world was turned upside down by this positive COVID test. So I know it's a lot of, you know, emotions and things that she has to work through. And unfortunately, it's just kind of being worked through on camera. But, you know, I think it was best to keep her safe, of course. But I hope the Married at First Sight crew was taking care of Zach, since he was then now in Florida by himself. And then I thought about it, and I was like, child, Zach probably called his mama. Zach mama was on the first thing smoking to take care of her baby. Okay. We then see Zach on the beach, and he still is not feeling well. And then Michaela, of course, she says she feels a bit overwhelmed by the whole situation. Because, of course, she had to, you know, up and leave her husband, which she wanted to stay and, of course, take care of her husband, but thinking about herself. When she tried to get her flight back, her flight was delayed. Once she did finally get on the flight, then her baggage was not there. So it was just a whole lot happening at once, where it's a bunch of small things that just pile up on you to make you feel overwhelmed at that point. But Zach says he's going to make it up to her. So we see Britt and Ryan get couple massages. They discuss having kids, and Ryan is like, I'll be ready right now. Right now, if you ready, I am ready. And I'm like, pump your brakes, sir. So Ryan then brings up intimacy, and Brett is like, well, you know, it's been a while. And they both really say kind of that things are progressing in a good way. And I'm just like, what is going on with the editing? Because I really don't see much of a connection with the two of them. Is it just me? Because I don't see a bunch of, oh, this match is going to work from what they're showing us on the TV. So maybe a bunch of stuff is going on behind the scenes that we just have no clue is happening, that these two are just connecting so deeply. But he says he's a very sexual person, and he's very, very touchy in the most dry voice that we can picture of. And I'm just like, Ryan, that just, again, you're saying these things, but we have not seen these things. And just the tone of voice that you're using really would not incline Brent to be like, oh yeah, let's get touchy-feely. Like, no. Then we see Johnny and Jose meet up, because Johnny is trying to plan a very special night for Bao. He wants Jose help in trying to find something for him to wear and Bao to wear, because he's like, he's just not good into fashion. And I'm just like, child, sometimes Jose be giving me some feminine vibes. I ain't gonna say nothing else, no judgment, but I'm getting some feminine vibes the more of these episodes that I watch. But just observation, okay? Johnny says he isn't sure how Bao feels about him romantically, but he wants to really plan this romantic dinner to share, you know, with her, that he really likes her. But in the back of his mind, he's kind of afraid that, you know, she isn't quite there yet. And I'm like, you probably should go ahead and at least set yourself up that she may not be there, because while y'all technically were not strangers, it still has only been 3-4 days at this point, with y'all kind of really getting to know each other one-on-one. So I was just like, don't be let down, Johnny, if she's not completely feeling the same way. So Myrla and Gil, they prepare for their adventure of the day, and it's some water plane ride where they're actually get on a jet ski to get to a plane, and then the plane takes them all around, and then the plane can actually float in the water as well. And of course, because it's a surprise from Gil, he then tells her, and as soon as he tells her, I get motion sickness. I'm like, Myrla, take a Dramamine and enjoy the vacation with your husband. Just be quiet about it. So she says she will suck it up for him, but we have to hear 50-11 times that she don't feel good. She feels terrible. I'm never doing this again, and I'm going to lay down. And all I could do was just let out a deep sigh on behalf of my man Gil. Like, she She's being very difficult, very difficult. So once Johnny gets back to the room, he surprises Bao with their coordinated outfits for dinner. And she's being a great team player, even though the shirt is huge on her. And Johnny's like, that's the only size they had. I'm sorry, but she puts it on, being a good sport. And they head down to the beach, and Johnny has a whole little picnic set up for them with candles and roses. Like, it is so cute. It is the perfect proposal setup that if they weren't already married, a woman would have known, I'm getting proposed to tonight, because this setup is just perfect for the will you marry me on bended knee, okay? But they really talk about, how kind of for him, he's really never, met anybody like her before. Bao kind of talks about how she really has not felt this way about anybody, even people that she's, interacted with long term. She never kind of had these feelings for them. So Johnny kind of gets a little choked up, and he really starts talking about how he really, really likes her. Like, his feelings are just growing. He normally does not do this, but he's like, it's only been 4 days, and he's like, I think we can make this work. And I was like, Johnny, you just so sweet, because he's just getting so choked up trying to hold back the tears the whole time, and she's just, rubbing his hand and looking in his eyes, and I'm like, this is so sweet. Because then he's like, it's okay if you don't feel that way, we can just enjoy the picnic. And I'm like, he definitely put up that defense mechanism of, let me make sure I let my feelings be known, but then I also protect myself, that in case this does not, the feeling is not mutual, then I've put it out there that I'm okay with it, even if inside I'm truly not okay with it. But he did that, and then Bao is a bit speechless for just a little bit, and she's like, the feeling is mutual. And I just am like, I love the two of y'all together. They are just so very sweet. And I'm like, the way y'all looking at each other, the way things is happening, y'all might have some born missionary sex tonight, Johnny. I don't know, but it seemed like it. I'm just so happy for them. But then Johnny has to come around and kind of kill the whole vibe and says, I've been on probably over 100 first dates, because, when things really didn't work out after the first date, I was just like, basically, I can just swipe right and go on another first date. And Bao is like, I feel bad that he's had to go out on so many first dates, but if he hadn't have ghosted me all those years ago, he probably could have saved himself some time. And I'm like, shots fired, Bao, shots fired. So back to Jose and Rachel, who's still on cloud nine, and he thinks he is just the coolest thing walking. But they talk about what will happen when it's time for them to go back home and kind of entering into the real world of living together. And then basically kind of once the experiment is over, what's going to happen, because he would like for her to move into his house. Rachel does not seem 100% on board, because she's like, it's his, not necessarily like ours. So I would feel like he has some kind of, possession or ownership of it. And he's like, no, you're my wife now. It's ours. What's yours is mine. What's mine is yours. Like, Jose, oh. But anyway, he's of course disappointed, because he really wants her to just release the reins and let him take care of everything. Like, he really wants a woman that 100% depends on him, and whatever direction he wants to take the relationship, he just wants her to be okay with it. And he does not have that in Rachel. You have a real human being. This is not a Barbie or a manufactured human being. You have a real person that already has their own thoughts and feelings about things that you have to accommodate, Jose. I don't know if you understand that, but that's what it is. That is what it is. She is not going to be the perfect wife you have envisioned. She is a whole human being who has lived a full life and has expectations of her own that don't necessarily align with what you want. Oh God, he gets on my nerves, but I don't get good vibes from him, but we'll continue to see how this will play out. So Brett and Ryan have their dinner date on the beach, and Ryan just continues to be so dry and emotionless. Brett says that, of all the guys, I kind of connected with Gil the quickest. And I'm like, yeah, they should have matched you and Gil together and not you and Ryan, because y'all would have been a much better match. Ryan says that the biggest deal breaker for him would be babies, because he wants 2.75 babies. He wants a boy, and a girl. Brent, on the other hand, was like, I was kind of indifferent with kids, because you want kids. I'm fine with having kids. But I guess the older she had gotten, she kind of got content with the possibility of not having kids. And she said she was okay with that as well. So Again, we'll see. But she says she's feeling more and more attracted to him the more time she spends with him. And he smiles for the first time that I can truly recall in this whole situation. So he says it's growing for him too. And then he says, I can't wait to see where we are 3 days from now. And I was like, 3 days? That you can't think no more into the future but 3 days? Jose and Rachel have dessert on their balcony, and he wants her to feed her dessert. And at this point, y'all, I am ready to pull my hair out with the way Jose is getting on my nerves. Like, what is wrong with, what is him about, feeding people and wanting to do, like, I don't know what it is. It just weirds me out. But he talks about, wanting a dog. And like I said, he has his life planned out, just wanting to fit this wife into the puzzle. He's like, oh yeah, we'll get a dog, and the dog will be a boxer, because when they're puppies, they're just oh so cute. And then they grow up and they're good with kids and they're so friendly. Like, he has he has this life planned and mapped out. He just needed the wife to complete the puzzle. It's crazy for me, but they agree on having a pet before kids. And they both say, oh, you're going to be a great mom and you're going to be a great dad. And I'm like, you've known each other for 4 days. Please continue to wear condoms and don't get pregnant right now. Thank you. So Myrla and Gil get ready for bed. And I find it funny that they both say, we joke around with each other. We banter. And I'm like, I don't see that. I see kind of both of y'all taking digs at each other. And then you kind of laugh it off, although it's not funny. But that's the type of vibes that I get from the two of them. But if they say they joke and they laugh, then that's what they say. But that's not what is portraying on the TV screen to me. Zach says he's a little tired of being alone. He truly misses his wife. And Michaela basically shares the same. And we didn't see much of them this episode because of the whole COVID situation. Ryan and Brent then have an awkward moment getting into a hammock. She thanks him for kind of just rolling with the punches since, this is completely out of the element for both of them. She says that, we haven't been around each other that long, but she really enjoys being around him. He's good about the direction that they're headed. And he's like, I'm in this for all the right reasons. So again, I'm like, a whole lot must be going on off camera that we are completely not seeing, because to me, they just don't seem that interesting as a couple. And as a couple, they don't seem that interested in each other when I'm watching them on my TV. But I digress. So Jose and Rachel kiss and they are getting ready for bed. And yeah, does it bother anybody else that I hate that every time he goes in to kiss her, he wraps his hand around her neck to kind of draw her in like he's choking her? And I don't know what it is about that, but I don't like that. And it bothers me every time he does it. I'm like, stop it. Stop it. But they talk about their finances and the differences. And, she says that her finances are a problem. And y'all know Jose is not about the shits when it comes to his finances. He is like, no, we will work on that and get it together. She kind of talks about having a joint account and then also having their own separate accounts. He, of course, being the controlling, overprotective husband that he wants to be, talks about, them having the joint account. And then whatever she wants to pull from there, she can pull. And she's like, so like an allowance? I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm indifferent when it comes to how couples handle their finances. I'm not a part of the team that thinks every married couple needs to have a joint bank account. If that's not how you operate and that's not, your MO, by all means, find what works for you. And if it works for you, great. Not my business. Bao and Johnny then end their day, and he's basically ready to fully make out with his wife. He's like, we done had a little romantic dinner. I'm ready to get into bed. They a little bit closer tonight. They like, we don't have no pillow tonight. And she snuggles up real close to him. They get real touchy. And I'm like, okay, Bao, it's about to happen. And then Bao comes in with, she starts talking about her snoring. She gets a little emotional with it and she starts to cry. And she says that it's been an insecurity for her all her life, that she used to be, I think, some type of camp counselor. And she says that it would be, a few of the camp counselors sleeping all together kind of in one cabin, I guess, per se. And there would be some nights that she would just completely stay up all night because she was afraid that she would start snoring when she fell asleep. So really kind of letting Johnny know that, you kind of joked around about it and laughed it off a bit, but it's something that really bothers me. And Johnny is like, if I don't really joke, that means I really don't care. Like, I care about you, and that's why I'm joking with you. So he really didn't mean anything by it. But of course, now that he knows that it's a real issue for her, he says that he will definitely not talk about it because he knows that it hurts her. But I was like, way to kill the mood, Bao. We could have just kept going and then addressed the snoring in the morning. Anyway, that was the episode for this week. So next week we see all the couples have dinner together. We see Myrla talk about not wanting to, take the dog on walks, but we know that Gil has a dog. Bao talks about, showering every day not being a priority. And I'm like, why is this being a topic of conversation recently, in the media and things, with people not wanting to take a shower? I'm gonna need y'all to wash y'all asses that every single day. No excuses, okay? But we will see what happens next week. But before I let y'all go, I do want to give predictions because I feel like I know a little bit about the couples to give predictions. And the only couple that I think is going to make it is Johnny and Bao. That's what I think. I like Zach and Michaela, but I don't know if they are going to make it. I feel confident that more than only Johnny and Bao will say yes on decision day, but it will be kind of just like we saw on last season, where I believe at this point, only Brianna and her husband are still together. I believe at this point everybody else has gotten a divorce or in the process of. I think it will kind of be that same scenario, but I only see Bao and Johnny making it long term. So if y'all have y'all predictions already, let me know in the comments below and let me know your thoughts on this episode. Until then, I will catch y'all down in the comments, and I will catch y'all in the episode next week. Peace.